I tested both of these phones for over a week, and I need to tell you something that's going to piss off a lot of Xiaomi fans. The Redmi Note 15 5G and 4G look identical. Same design, same screen, same cameras, but one of them is a complete waste of money, and the other one might actually be worth it if you buy the right version at the right price. Xiaomi just launched 4 phones in the Redmi Note 15 family: the Note 15 4G, Note 15 5G, Note 15 Pro 5G, and Note 15 Pro Plus 5G. There's no way I'm reviewing all 4 in one video, so this is part 1, the regular models. Part 2 will cover the pros. Now here's what nobody's telling you about these phones. The $100 price gap between the 4G and 5G, 90% of that money goes to one thing, and it's not what you think. The 4G model has a curved screen that makes it more expensive but less practical. The 5G model has a silicon carbon battery but heats up faster than it should. And the cameras? One of these phones takes photos that look worse than last year's model. Which one should you actually buy? Should you even buy either of them? Or are you better off spending your money on the competition? Stick around because what I found is going to change how you think about Xiaomi's pricing. Hit that like button and let's dive in. The 4G belongs to roughly the $250 price category, and the 5G belongs to roughly the $350 price category. I'm telling you the prices first so you understand when I compare them to other phones in the same price categories. Anyway, I have the Note 15 4G in purple and the 5G in blue so you don't get confused. As for the design, the two phones here have a design language we can say is different, especially the 4G, because now the two phones have become curved, the back and screen curving into each other. It's a very small frame, the same design as the old Note 14 Pro 4G. The materials are definitely plastic, back and frame. You can accept normally in the 4G that its materials are plastic, but the 5G, we see in its price category some phones that have glass backs or synthetic leather backs. The 4G's weight got lighter, 183 grams, and its thickness decreased to 7.9 millimeters. But the 5G is the one that really dropped in weight, 178 grams, and its thickness is 7.4 millimeters. But it's one of the lightest and thinnest phones in its price category. Water resistance is a bit modest in both phones. In the 4G, it's IP64, and this is against water splashes and rain and stuff, and IP66 in the 5G, and this is resistance to water jets, meaning if water hits it with high pressure, it'll handle it normally. But both aren't resistant to submersion underwater, so don't take these phones in your hand into a basin, for example, or into a water jug or stuff like that, because the minimum submersion resistance against water is IP67, which is in the 5G category in the A36 from Samsung, and IP68 and 69 in the Honor X9D. The important thing is that Xiaomi says the internal materials have improved and these phones have become more shock resistant. Look, I don't know if you'd have the heart to drop phones with curved screens. Let's check out the screens. Both phones come with the same screen, 6.77 inches, AMOLED, Full HD Plus with 120 Hz refresh rate. And both screens have an excellent dimming rate of 3,840 Hz to comfort your eyes. But both don't support HDR10+. Both screens are curved, as we said, not a little curve on the right and left of the screen, but with minimal bezels. The bezels decreased noticeably from the previous generation, especially in the 4G. But I think the customer in this category, especially in the 4G category, leans toward flat screens more. So I think it was maybe a wrong move from Xiaomi. The 4G should have been with a flat screen to be more reliable. But apparently Xiaomi decided to make it premium for us and make the smallest member of the series with a curved screen. And by the way, the curved screen of the 4G I think is what caused its price to increase a bit, because it's of course more expensive than a flat screen. There's a very slight color difference I felt between the two screens here, just because I'm comparing. The 4G screen's blue was a bit dull, not showing at all. We might not be able to film it more. The 5G screen's colors were more accurate. But like we said, because we're comparing, if you see any phone alone, you'll find its colors very good. And both phones have 68 billion color screens. Video watching experience, social media, and all these things are very good. No problems at all. And the brightness is also good. 3,200 nits, actually about 1,500 nits, and this is a very excellent number, especially in the 4G's price category. And the 5G is good and competitive in brightness for its price category. So, bottom line, the 4G screen is very good in its price category normally. It's just curved. Accept it or don't accept it, that's up to you. Anyway, Xiaomi gives you a warranty on the screen at first. But okay, I'm telling you I can't force you to do anything. You choose. But the 5G screen, compared to competing phones, it might not be the best color experience, but acceptable, not supporting HDR10+. Other phones support it, and its brightness is good normally like other phones with actual experience with them. And Xiaomi also didn't mention the type of protection on both these phones' screens, but says it's shatter-resistant glass. A hard hit, nothing happened. But I'm noticing that the screen protectors installed on the phones, the screen protector that comes inside the box, it's very weak. It got beat up very easily, even though I'm sure I didn't beat them up. But not a problem, you'll install screen protectors anyway. So, okay? I think the screens might actually be strong and resistant, but I absolutely do not advise you to buy any phone, even if it can handle you keep beating it up. And companies' promises are about tests they do on phones, and they bring other companies to certify the tests they did to get good protection. Until now, the differences are normal, almost identical experience, but the price difference between them, about 90% of it goes to the performance experience. The 4G comes with a modest processor from MediaTek, G100, but the 5G comes with a more active and better processor from Qualcomm, Snapdragon 6 Gen 3, both with UFS 2.2 storage memory. Both on Android 15 until the time of filming this video, but surely Android 16 will come to them with a promise of 4 years of Android updates, meaning you have until Android 19. And surely the 5G experience is better and more active than the 4G, not because of the words 5G and 4G, no. The architecture of the processor and the experience of the Snapdragon 6 Gen 3 processor is noticeably stronger than the MediaTek G100, taking into account, of course, the price difference between them, which, as I told you, about 90% of it goes to the processor. The 6 Gen 3 gives you a better experience, especially in games and in the interface. Even the phone is faster and more active, and if you can afford the difference between the 4G and 5G, I definitely advise you to get the 5G to get a better experience. Okay, as for competing phones, let's start with the Note 15 4G. This phone, I can't say it has the strongest processor, but it doesn't have the weakest processor. The G100 doesn't differ much from the G99 that was already in the old Redmi Note 14 4G, and doesn't differ much either from the Gen 2, a slight difference in graphics performance, in the Infinix Hot 60 Plus Pro. So I'll compare the curved phone with the curved one here. It's just that the Xiaomi is $30 more expensive.
And I still just tested the Samsung A17 5G, and I liked its performance more, and I liked its software more. But its problem is the Exynos reputation and the notch screen or the box with no accessories. So okay, the 4G can do okay, but it's not value for money. There are other phones that are more value for money than it, like the Infinix Note 50s, which is roughly the same price, much stronger processor, and old phones still available until now, like the Realme P1 Pro and the Samsung M55 that I told you about in the last video. And just so you know, developments in 4G processors have become very, very limited, and the game is just in the new phone that launches in 4G having nice pricing, and Xiaomi's pricing isn't as nice as it used to be. And in general, it looks like all new phones launching in 2026 will have pricing that's not the best thing. But as for the 5G, this phone is about $30 cheaper than the Vivo V60 Lite 5G, and about $60 cheaper than the Honor X9D and Samsung A36. The Note 15 5G comes with the same processor power in the Samsung A36, which consequently is very slightly less than the Honor and Vivo, but the differences between them aren't big. My ranking of these processors, Honor, then Vivo, then Samsung and Xiaomi, and the differences aren't big like I told you. And really, the Note 15 5G is an important addition for Xiaomi because imagine that Xiaomi didn't have a competing phone in the mid-range with a good processor we'd recommend. And let's go now to the heat experience. The 4G anyway, the G100 processor doesn't heat up much, so don't worry. The 5G, I was a bit surprised because the Snapdragon 6 Gen 3 processor is a processor that doesn't heat up and doesn't throttle. It doesn't have a problem at all, a mid-range processor from Qualcomm Qualcomm, and the phone body is plastic, so I was expecting I wouldn't feel heat. It would be slight heat, especially since we're in winter. But I noticed this phone in normal daily usage doesn't heat up much. Light games don't heat it up much, don't worry about it. It doesn't burn hot while you're holding it. But in heavy games and heavy stress programs, the phone, I find its temperature increases quickly and appears in the back, the area near the camera, and also after a while you hear it in the screen. I think this problem is because of the phone being too thin. That's what caused the heat to transfer quickly to the phone's external body. But don't worry, with this heat, it's not over and not the heat that burns you. And the phone doesn't throttle or doesn't reduce its frequencies even after a period of stress on it. So okay, I don't have a problem. I just have a reservation about the heat part, and we're in winter. I don't know what it'll do in summer. As for PUBG, it runs at 60 frames on both phones, and the 5G experience is much smoother, 2 or 3 times smoother than the 4G. The graphics processor difference between them is big, but I just have a reservation. Why doesn't the Note 15 5G officially run PUBG at 90 frames until now? I don't know. Okay, and the battery is 6,000 milliamp hours in the 4G and 5,520 milliamp hours in the 5G. But imagine that Xiaomi put a silicon carbon battery in the 5G so they could put, of course, a relatively large battery for the small, thin, and light phone size. I want to tell you that the battery here is silicon carbon, and in the Xiaomi 15T, which is roughly double its price, it's a regular battery. I'm seeing wonders with Xiaomi. Anyway, when I tested these two phones together for battery power, I found them close. The 4G is stronger by about 10% roughly total usage, and both will last you until the end of the day without problems. But the 5G, with heavy stress on it with heavy games, this phone drains the battery faster in this case. But in normal cases, normal usage, no. It's just with heavy stress and intense work, you'll find the phone gives you performance, yes, but heats up a bit, as I told you, and takes battery at a higher rate, can reach 50% more than the 4G. But of course, its performance is much better. I think the 5G needed to get thicker a bit and have a 6,000 or 6,500 milliamp hour battery put in it. It would have taken this phone's experience to another place entirely, but it's not bad, and I think Xiaomi kept the bigger batteries in the Pro versions of the series. On the charging speed side, the 4G, same 33-watt charger, charges in about an hour and a half. The 5G, 45-watt charger, charges in about an hour and 15 minutes. Okay, as for competitors, let's put aside the 4G, it's acceptable anyway. The 5G, compared to the Honor and Vivo, it's less than them in battery power by a clear difference, and also less than them in charging speed. Vivo comes with a 90-watt charger, and Honor comes with a 66-watt charger. It might just be similar to Samsung in battery power and in its actual charging speed. Samsung with 25 watts will actually charge roughly like Xiaomi's 45 watts. But of course, Samsung doesn't come with its charger. Both phones' fingerprints are under the display, and their performance is very good. Both phones have a nice combo, extra mic for noise cancellation, IR sensor to control electrical devices from your phones, and both have always-on display feature, but it turns on for a bit and turns off. Both their sounds are stereo, you can raise them up to 300%. The stereo sounds are acceptable, but I noticed the 4G's sound is slightly higher than the 5G, but the sound quality in the 5G is slightly better than the 4G, but both are acceptable, and both have the 3.35mm headphone jack removed, and both have the same proximity sensor that the software was telling me is software, but when I tested it in actual calls, I found it working very well, and locks the screen on your ear without any problems, and cellular networks and Wi-Fi are very good on both these phones, no problems at all. Let's go to the cameras. Both phones have the same main lens, 108 megapixels, aperture f1.7, but the 5G adds that it has optical stabilization. And also, the 5G has an ultra-wide lens, but the 4G unfortunately does not have the ultra-wide lens. And the selfie is 20 megapixels, aperture f2.2 on both phones. Both phones shoot portrait at 1x and 2x through the main lens. Video recording is 4K with the rear camera on the 5G, 1080p on the 4G. Selfie, unfortunately, is 1080p limited across the entire series. Not even one in the Note 15 series, even the Pro Plus, shoots selfie video at 4K, and this is something I'm honestly surprised about. Anyway, let's see now the camera experience difference. Will the same numbers produce the same results?
The short answer is no, because the processor has a role in photo processing, and this is what we'll see together in a bit. But I want to tell you something. The Note 15 5G is a bit flexible or a bit adaptable in that it has a Qualcomm processor, so you can install Google Camera in a version that suits you, and you'll get a photography experience that might be slightly better in processing if the photo processing you saw from this phone didn't please you. Let's put all this talk aside and see the photography experience with these two phones. There's a clear difference in rear camera processing in favor of the 5G, better in strong sunlight photos than the 4G by a lot, which overexposes photos as usual. The same annoying flaw that was in the Note 14 4G is still in the Note 15 4G, totally normal.
Even regular photos, not portraits, will find superiority and better clarity for the 5G camera. The processor is doing work, you know. If this Note 15 5G had come with a slightly better sensor than this old 108 sensor, and the sensor isn't nice, the 5G would have been stronger in its price category in the photography part. So in short, the 5G processor saved it in the photography experience. Yes, with the same sensors as the 4G, but in the end, photo production is slightly better and color enhancement and processing and details are better in the 5G than the 4G, and this appeared with me in most of the photos I took. Bottom line, 4G photos aren't distinguished in the phone's price category, but the 5G will compare it in a few more seconds and see where it stands. As for selfie, the 5G is a bit blue, the 4G is a bit yellow. There's another difference. The 5G smooths selfie photos and erases face details and brightens them. This is something I didn't like about it, but okay. The 4G selfie is doing okay for its price category, and the 5G selfie for its price category, no. Wait a second, let's stop and compare the Note 15 5G cameras with its competitors I told you about. Let's start with the rear camera. Regular photos in the sun, the Note 15 5G held up with them normally. Let's go to portrait, difficult in the sun. 1x, Vivo is the best for me, then Samsung and Xiaomi are somewhat similar, and Honor is the most overexposed. Portrait 2x, Vivo is in its own league, much better. Xiaomi is slightly better than Honor because it's less overexposed. And this is another photo, Portrait 1x. Here I liked Vivo also, then Samsung, then Xiaomi, and last is Honor again. Portrait 2x, as usual, Vivo is dominating, then Xiaomi, then Honor. Indoor lighting, here Samsung is very natural, I liked it. Honor and Vivo, Xiaomi didn't succeed in this photo. Portrait 2x, also Vivo is still first, then Xiaomi, then Honor. We understand from this that Vivo is still superior in photo shooting in the mid-range. Samsung is fighting with Honor, and Xiaomi is fighting between trying to surpass Honor, but can't surpass Vivo. So we can say that the Xiaomi Note 15 5G is one notch below competitors in rear camera photos. As for selfie, the selfies I like most in this category are Honor's selfie and Vivo's selfie. Samsung's selfie sometimes fails in color accuracy, and Xiaomi's selfie comes in the middle. It's neither distinguished nor bad, it just erases details in the skin a bit, as I told you. Tell me your rating of the Note 15 5G cameras after seeing this comparison. Do you see it as competitive or what? I'll leave you with video recording. Video recording with the rear camera at 4K with the 5G, but in the 4G its max is 1080p because of the lesser processor. You'll notice a difference in video coloring. In the 5G it's slightly better, or I feel it's slightly more saturated than the 4G, and this is something I'm noticing on the phone screens. I don't know, when I put them side by side, I'll see the difference between them. And the processing of this overexposed far area, you'll also find it better in the 5G than the 4G, but despite having optical stabilization in the 5G, the video shakes at 4K. You have to lower the quality to 1080p only. The angle is slightly wider than the 1080p of the Note 15 4G. Let's test video recording with both phones on our dark street. Of course, the 5G at 4K and the 4G at 1080p. Does the processor difference make a difference in night video recording quality or what? I honestly was feeling or seeing that the 5G needs a slightly better main camera sensor than this, but let's see. As for selfie recording, it's unfortunately limited across the entire series to 1080p, no 4K. This is normal in the 4G, but in the 5G, it's in a slightly more expensive price category where there are other competing phones that shoot selfie video at 4K. Anyway, I'm testing with you now selfie video recording at 1080p with both phones. Let's see if there's a difference in selfie video recording quality because of the stronger processor difference, definitely in the 5G, or is the difference slight? I see on the screens there's a difference in skin tone, but I don't see anything else. The screens are bright and clear and everything, but let's just see when we put them side by side on the same screen, we'll see the differences between them. And we wrap up with prices. The 4G, 128 gigabytes and 6 gigabytes for $250, 256 gigabytes and 8 gigabytes for $270. As for the 5G, 256 gigabytes and 8 gigabytes for $340, 512 gigabytes and 12 gigabytes for $400.
All prices mentioned are approximate estimates, meant to give you a general idea. Please check local prices in your country for accuracy. And you can install 2 SIM cards or a SIM and memory card, and both phones don't support eSIM. eSIM is exclusive in these versions to the Pros. Both Pros support eSIM. Final opinion, let's start with the Note 15 4G. Is this phone normal, or is it exceptional, or is it very bad? No, it doesn't deserve all this controversy. It's considered an improvement over the Note 14 4G. In what? Better processor? No, doesn't make a difference in reality. Battery is slightly bigger, newer design shape, lighter and thinner, curved screen with fewer bezels, and NFC feature support, but the 3.3mm headphone jack was removed. Very reasonable improvements from one generation to the next, and unfortunately the curved screen in this phone is what caused its price to increase. Should you upgrade to it or not? The answer honestly is no. If you want to upgrade to the second phone we'll talk about in a bit. And by the way, the Note 15 4G is considered a version of the old Note 14 Pro 4G at a lower price and with a slightly lesser camera experience. It's doing okay. It might be an acceptable option after its price drops. The option I like more is the Note 15 5G. This phone is the one that might be bought among these two phones. But focus with me. Stick with the smaller 256GB and 8GB version, which after its price drops, as usual from Xiaomi, might reach roughly $300. Processor and screen experience are very good. Lightweight, thin phone, and compact in the hand, but with a battery 2 notches below competitors and cameras 1 notch below competitors. I can accept it and recommend the small version to you after its price burns, on the condition it must be cheaper than the Vivo V29 Lite 5G and Honor X9D and Samsung A36. And when you're buying, it'll be a good addition from Xiaomi in the mid-range, which as I told you was missing their presence with a good phone with a good processor in the mid-range. But if you want to raise the budget a bit, or you're thinking about the 512GB version of the Note 15 5G, just for more storage, I'm with you that storage is important, but there are other things more important. So at that point, if you think about the Vivo V60 Lite 5G, you'll get a stronger battery and faster charging and slightly better camera experience. Or think about the Honor, it'll give you a stronger processor, less heat, a screen that might be slightly better, and also a stronger battery. Or think about the Samsung A36 with more distinguished software, longer updates, eSIM support, glass back, better video recording. Or even think about the Realme 15 5G, which its price is now the same price of the Note 15 5G 512GB version. Or even, look, I'm giving you how many alternatives. You can wait and see the Note 15 Pro 5G review, which its small version after its price drops might get close to the Note 15 5G price, and surely it'll be a more valuable phone and offers you a better package. And that's it. I finished all the talk I have. I want to thank you very much if you made it with me to this point. I finished the video, finished my opinion and experience with these two phones. I'll be satisfied with this period, roughly a week or 8 days. Wait a bit because I'm testing the Pro now, so I can make you a nice video with a summary of my experience with the Note 15 Pro and Note 15 Pro Plus, and also a comparison with competitors, and which of them deserves you buying it. I'll give you a small, quick piece of information. I'm seeing the 15 Pro 5G might be slightly more valuable, but let's not get ahead of events because I still haven't tested everything. So make sure to write me a comment right now after you make sure you hit like and tell me you want to see a comparison between which of the Note 15 series phones and other competing phones in their price categories. Make sure you've subscribed to us so you can see part 2, and turn on the notification bell so you get a notification as soon as the video drops. See you in a new video.